But if you don't come in thinking carefully about what it is you're trying to model, what do you believe is actually driving returns in the securities you trade, then it's a data mining exercise and you've lost this scientific human ingenuity and creativity.
We've seen so much change in the economy with regards to all these new technologies, Gen AI being one of them. How has Versor utilized specifically generative AI for generating investment success?
Ethan, thanks for having us on, and thanks for that question. It may be helpful to provide a little context as to who Versor is and philosophically how we view the world, and then I'll dive into how we think about AI, broadly defined generative AI, and kind of use of alternative data and data to help us solve problems. But we're a quantitative investment boutique that specializes in viewing and then analyzing the entire ecosystem of equities. So we look at equities from a single stock perspective. We trade on a market neutral basis around the world, are looking for attractive opportunities. We look at equities undergoing corporate events, focusing on hard catalyst events, think of merger, acquisitions, LBOs, and the like. And then we look at equities from the perspective of equity index futures, where we're investing in about 80% of global equity markets using equity index futures to evaluate attractive opportunities around the world. I would say, in terms of how we think about AI and data that flows into AI, it starts first with the data. So we do spend a lot of time in evaluating alternative data sources. Alternative data for us is anything that doesn't fit in a nice, neat row or table. So it could be words on a piece of paper, could be an audio file, it could be footfall traffic, it could be credit card receipts. So anything that can give us interesting insights into companies in markets, we'll potentially look at. And the way that we look at it is by combining technological tools. A lot of folks refer to this as AI, but very simply put, to the extent one is using alternative data, you need to have the tools in order to synthesize that data appropriately. You cannot run a simple statistical regression on a newspaper article, as an example. You need some sort of alternative AI tool, natural language processing, or other machine learning tools to help you synthesize that. Philosophically, the way that we think about AI is from a tool uses perspective. That is to say, we use it to help us solve a specific set of problems that is generated by a human being. A lot of folks commonly refer to this as supervised machine learning. And that is to say, for us, it's important for us to identify a problem that we're seeking to solve across the strategies I described, and then seek to find pieces of data to help us solve those problems, identify features within that data to help us train models, and then go forth and solve the problems that we're seeking to find. The important point that I want to stress there, at least from our perspective, it is the process does start with this human ingenuity and this human intelligence. There are a lot of folks that will train a model to look through data and parse through correlations or patterns in that data to solve problems. That's not what we currently do. We do use kind of AI to help us solve specific problems that we've identified.
So I think another way to describe human ingenuity in our context is we take a hypothesis-driven approach. We see ourselves as empirical market scientists, and so what we do in the research process is think very carefully about what it is we're trying to model and what sort of underlying data generation relationship is there. So in the context of alternative data, we look at data sets and we think very carefully about, is there something in this data set that may be helpful in forecasting the returns for the various instruments we trade? So credit card data is usually one of the easiest to describe because there is this clear causal link. If you can see greater sales for Nike in their credit card data, we expect revenues for Nike will increase over time, right? And that's a simplistic example, but it's really crucial to think about these things because given the explosion of data, there's so much data available out there. But if you don't come in thinking carefully about what it is you're trying to model, what do you believe is actually driving returns in the securities you trade, then it's a data mining exercise and you've lost the scientific human ingenuity and creativity. And so for researchers, the first step we do is we spend time thinking carefully. We write up a research specification. We ask and define very clear set of hypotheses as to what do we expect, what sort of relationships do we expect there to be, what are the sorts of things we would love to be able to capture and model. And the beauty with AI tools, and especially in 2025 and just in general, is our ability to capture these insightful, novel relationships that you simply weren't able to do 5 years ago even is completely amazing. So we can ask questions around, if I'm looking at jobs data, not only do I want to know how many jobs are companies going up and going down over time, but I can ask questions about what is the language they're using. Are there certain particular types of jobs that they are more likely to be advertising for? Is there been a shift in the way they're describing and the types of roles, in the hopes that we believe that may tell us something about the companies themselves and their future growth prospects and ultimately forecast returns?
Now, what you mentioned there reminds me of, I think I was listening to the Founders podcast on Ken Griffin recently, and it was that Citadel, and he stressed this over and over again, are a research firm first and a trading firm second, and the trades are how they monetize that research. And I think that what you've said there gets to the heart of building a great quantitative investment management business, that fundamentally you guys are researchers. You are looking for these relationships, and trading is simply how you monetize those.